Welcome on in. This is Online Gaming Man Cave. I'm your main man, built up real nice. And today we're going to go over every legendary spear build from NG++. And I'm going to show you how this build works against OZMA, one of the hardest bosses in the game that has 3 phases. But before we get into that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for more videos from OGMC. But let's dive right into it. As you see here, we have the Soul Eater, Fallen Lord, Crushed Dreams, Drowned Witch, Faded Memories, Temple Knight, the Golden Set, and I believe the last one is the Deep Shadow build. I'm going to break each one of these builds down, let you know what rings and necklaces I pair with them, and how they work against this top boss in the game. Once again, this is NG++. I have all the skill tree unlocked, even the bonus ones, and the entire game completed. But without further ado, let's get into our first build, the Soul Eater. Now, this legendary Soul Eater build is unreal. This is probably one of my top 1 or 2 builds to go to, and this thing does damage. From its gritty look to its glowing spear, this Soul Eater really eats the soul of the enemies that it goes against. But let's get into the build without further ado. All right, let's start with our weapon, the Soul Piercer Spear, known for its attack damage, proficiency scaling B, willpower scaling C. I have damage increase, damage multiplier increase, and max stamina for my random attributes added onto this. But with each one of these builds, I must tell you, I do run the stun jar instead of the actual helmet, which gives me extra proficiency up to 10. For the top, I am running max stamina, max health, stamina recovery for my random attributes. For the wrist guards, damage multiplier increase, max stamina, and attack damage. As you see, there are some perks of this as well. For my pants, I got defense, stamina recovery, max health. And then for my gaiters, I got max stamina, damage multiplier increase, and stamina recovery. Now, when we get down to the rings and necklace, it's your choice, but I like running the Reese ring with this only because of the stamina recovery gives me 20%. And for the necklace, I love the Necklace of Strikes only because of the simple reason of rear assault. I get a damage increase of 20%. For my attributes with this, I have damage multiplier increase, max health, and max stamina, which I rolled. But please don't just be stuck to these options. These are my preferences. There are a lot of other necklaces and rings you can use. You can go with the Bishop necklace. That necklace provides a bonus to the brink dodging, which could be valuable to the tight situations, or the Stratus necklace. Now, when we go into our skill tree, please make sure we highlight Phantom Judgment, and please add this to one of your special moves. Phantom Judgment basically just resets the exhaust on the enemies to allow you to do more attack and more damage. I like to level up with my Potent Blow, my Shadow Reversal all the way down. Like I said, I am max level. I am at 350, but if I had to pick and choose, I'm going with the Shadow Reversal. I'm going with the Potent Blows, the Thrust, and I'm going with my Phantom Judgment, of course, and then I'm pairing it with my Reflection leveled all the way out. Reflection is so key once you get to this level of fighting these enemies, especially on NG++. So you want to make sure this is leveled all the way out, which increases your time window for reflection, but also allows you to keep your stamina, keep moving quickly, and allows you to be effective through the entire fight and not just one piece here or one piece there. All right, so that's the Soul Eaters build broken down. Let's take one last look at it. This is a beautiful set. Absolutely love the graphics in this game and the builds they put together. But let's go into this fight, and I'm going to show you how well this build works, how effective it is, and how monstrous the Soul Eater build can be.
Khazan, why do you insist on fighting me? Don't you see? The real enemy is humanity. OZMA, look at how you've changed and what you've become. try to destroy it.
All right, let's get into our next legendary build, the Knight Temple build. And basically, this is not even a full build. This is just a weapon with a necklace and ring. I transmog the rest of this, but I am pairing this with the golden set, which I'll break down shortly. But I just wanted to transmog and put OZMA wings on here and some more pieces from other builds. I think they look really cool to pair with this Knight Temple build. But let's get into the weapons. First, you have the Temple's Knight Spear. And basically attack damage, proficiency scale in B, willpower C. I tagged on the damage increase, attack damage and damage multiplier increase there. I'm going with the stun jar again. I'm having this on all builds, but feel free to use the helmets that come in the olden builds. And I paired that with the golden set. And what is key here is the Temple's Knight's ring, which gives me damage increase. I also rolled the attributes on that as well. And then the necklace of gratitude, which gives me damage increase as well. And I rolled those attributes as well. For this, you get a special after image here. The timing window for brink dodge is increased and the effects of moonlight steps after image. That's one of the extra builds you got that came along with NG++. And then also you get the Phantom Heat Wave, reduces acclimation of block status effects by 50%. When blocking the attribute attack with Phantom Heat Wave, your spear temporarily grants you a little grace per se. And then, you know, I'm going with the shadow reversal. I'm also using trance to keep my combinations going, as you saw in the last one. And then, you know, I got to pair my reflection because we are the reflection kings over here, all the way down. So my timing window is increased. And that's pretty much the build on this. Let's see how this works against OZMA. And let me tell you, I was quite surprised how well this build did.
Khazan, why do you insist on fighting me? Don't you see? The real enemy is humanity. OZMA, look at how you've changed and what you've become. We saved this world. Do we not then have the right to destroy it?
Okay, so that build wasn't that strong, but let's get into the Crush Dreams build, legendary build, NG++. This thing looks absolutely awesome and stunning. I love the makeup of this build, the graphics here, from the spear to the top, to the leggings, to the gaiters. This thing looks sick, and this is the actual build of it. So let's get into it. Let's jump into our gear and see what type of build and make out this has. For the weapon, we're running the Crush Dream Spear. That's attack damage, proficiency scaling B, willpower scaling C. And I roll my attributes for more damage increase, damage multiplier increase, and max stamina. As I mentioned before, we're going with the stun jar on all of my builds, but feel free to use the helms that come with it. For my top, this build gives you a lot of defense. So if you're looking for a defensive legendary build, this is the one to go to. I rolled the attributes for max health, receive damage decrease, defense here. As we get into the wrist guards, I roll for attack damage, stamina recovery, damage increase, and he also gets some electrification here too as well, which is actually what I liked about this build. And then as we go into the leggings, you get a little more damage increase. I roll for defense, max stamina, and receive damage decrease. Like I said, this is a big defensive build, so if you're looking for a lot of defense, this is one you want to go with. For the gaiters, I got stamina damage increase, max stamina, damage multiplier increase. And then for my ring, I'm going with LMA's ring on this choice. And then I rolled for defense, max stamina, attack damage. And it also gives me a little bit of lightning attack damage if you want to put something on the end of that sword. And then necklace of strikes, which gives me the damage multiplier increase, max health, max stamina as my random attributes. But let's jump into the skill tree. It's pretty much the same as the last build. Like I said, I love spiral thrust. I love shadow reversal. I love trance. It keeps the combinations going. I love everything about this one and this build. You're going to see me pair my reflections again with this as I'm breaking down the trance. I'm only putting this together on each video for people that are hitting the timestamps that may not need to see all the legendary builds. So resources are leveled out. Like I said, reflection, I am a reflection king. I have this leveled all the way out to kind of increase the window of my reflections to make sure I don't miss them. But this build is really incredible. Let's see how it works against the GOAT himself in the 3 phases. And you guys let me know in the comments below. Did you try this build? Did you like it? Let's get into it.
Khazan, why do you insist on fighting me? Don't you see? The real enemy is humanity. OZMA, look at how you've changed and what you've become. Khazan, we saved this world. Do we not then have the right to destroy it?
Okay. Next, let's get into the Deep Shadow Legendary build. This thing looks absolutely ferocious. This guy is made up, looks like of all metal. The breakdown from the top to the helm. This guy looks like he is playing no games and is ready for action. Like I said, I love the graphics of most of these builds. They did an excellent job designing it. But let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of this build and show the perks in this build compared to the other ones. We're running a Formless Warrior Spear, which emphasizes on attack damage. I rolled for damage increase, attack damage, and frontal damage as well in this. I'm running the stun jar again, but like I said, you can run the helms if you want to, or the helmets that you prefer. For the top, it does give you damage multiplier increase, but I rolled for max stamina, max health, and stamina recovery. For the gauntlet, you can see what I rolled for attributes, but take a look at stamina damage increase and damage increase with the thrust. That is key. Also damage multiplier increase and damage increase from enemy exhaustions with the leggings. That is also key there. And then you see a repeat from after image thrust damage increase. So I'm going to be using the thrust and getting the perks of using that thrust. For the rings, I'm going with the Guardian's Nice ring, and that is rear assault damage increase. I do a lot of damage from behind, like I mentioned in other builds, and also the Necklace of Strikes, which we've already talked about. Stamina damage increase and stamina cost. This build was pretty dope to run, but this is one of the perks, the assault, the Skyfall, that you get in the extra perks as you go through NG++ that is illuminated when you put this build together. It is pretty cool. It enhances the assault, decent to turn into an area wild attack that consumes one additional fury charge that generates a shockwave. I'll try to throw that into these combinations as we go through this fight, but this is one key factor that's a part of this build. Like I said, I'm using shadow reversal. You know, I'm going to use the trance. I'm going to use the thrust that's already highlighted over there as well. And then you know we are the reflection kings. So got to have my reflections matched all the way out. Like I said, I'm only repeating this between every build for the timestamp purposes for people that do not want to look at the whole video. But let's see what this build holds. It looks amazing. I love the horns on the top, and it's just ready to do some damage. So as we go into this fight, let me know below. Post the comments. Let me know if you like this build or if it's helping you through your playthrough. Let's go. Next, we got the Drowned Witch legendary build. Most of these pieces come from Troker when she drops it. And think about Troker. She throws a lot of projectiles. So what do you think this build is going to be based off of? It's probably going to be distance damage. And I'm going to show you the perks of this build just shortly. But this build looks pretty dope. I got my hoodie on. I got my little Troker spear. You can see it kind of got some like coral reef wrapped around it to let you know that most of these drops came from Troker. As we get into the Drowned Witch Spear, attack damage, proficiency scale, and B, you see my attributes. I rolled a nudge, damage increase. I'll let you pause that to go back. I'm running the stun jar like I do on all of my builds, but feel free to run the helms that you want or the helmets. For the Drowned Witch tops, it's known for defense. As you see, water attack, enemy frost, damage increase. As far as with the wrist guards, fury accumulation, ranged attacks, damage multiplier increase. This build is meant for the water and to do damage from a distance. Keep that in mind. The Witch's Pants, water attack damage, enemy frost, damage increase. So you're going to do a lot of damage from a distance with this build. Also, Drowned Witch shoes. You got the ranged attack, what I just spoke about, damage multiplier increase. You guys can go back through the attributes and pause and see what attributes I put on them. Rings, we got the Drowned Witch ring. And like I said, it's ranged attack, ties of fury, damage increase. Those are the attributes I put on there. And then the necklace of Twisted Love, damage increase and ranged attacks, damage stamina increase. So like I said, this build is based off water attacks and attacking from a distance. Now, you know the setup I got, but for timestamps purposes, you know I'm running Shadow Reversal, Potent Blow. But the trick with this Shadow Reversal, you get the Ties of Fury. And this allows you to spin your spear and launch a wave that delivers a series of strikes, absorb stamina as well. So make sure you tack that on to your special moves so you can use it in the fight. I'll try to drop it in the fight a little bit, but as you can tell, I run the same thing over and over, from Shadow Reversal to Trance to Thrust to Reflection. I love attacking that enemy from behind. You do more damage, and you don't let the fight go on and on and on, allowing those bosses to give you more moves and some more things to fight against. And you know I'm going with the Reflection. Off back, like I said, this build is pretty dope. I was surprised at how well this build did against this boss, but as we go into this fight, you let me know, did this build work for you? I loved going against Troker in the first, second, and third playthrough. So it's kind of good I get to use her legendary build against one of the main bosses and the last boss in NG++. Let's get it.
Khazan, why do you insist on fighting me? Don't you see? The real enemy is humanity. OZMA, look at how you've changed and what you've become. Khazan, we saved this world. Do we not then have the right to destroy it?
All right, let's get into our Faded Memories legendary build. This used to be one of my favorite builds when starting NG Plus and going into NG Plus 2. This is a very powerful build. I love the makeup on this build. I'm not too fond about how it's dressed up, but the graphics are dope on it. But it is a pretty dope, solid build if you want to use it. I call this like my B average build, but let's get into it. We got the Spear of Faded Memories that focuses on attack damage, scaling B, scaling C for proficiency and willpower, and damage recovery rate. You can look at the attributes. You know I'm going with the Stun Jar for extra proficiency. Give me those 10 on that. When we go into the top, the Cloak of Faded Memories, you see dodge stamina cost decrease and rear assault damage increase. So with me using like Shadow Reversal, this is key to this build. Also with the Faded Memories of gloves, we got max stamina and raised stamina damage increase. You guys can go and look at the attributes and pause those and see what I rolled for. For the trousers, we got dodge stamina cost decrease, rear assault damage increase. Again, that's another major perk that I love. For the shoes, we got max stamina and enraged damage increase. Also for the rings, I'm going with the Reese ring. I love the necklace of promise as well to pair with this. You got max stamina as well. And like I said, you can look at the rolled attributes I have on each one. Those play a pivotal role in this build, but this build is pretty solid. I call this like my B average build. It is well put together, gets the job done. Now, one perk of this is the Frenzified Cleave. I don't even know if I said that right. Frenzied Cleave, or whatever the case is. So as you see it, I have it as one of my options. And what this does is potent blows are enhanced to allow for consecutive use, deal additional damage. That is one of the optional perks of this build. And you know I'm going with the thrust. You know I'm going with the Shadow Reversal to turn them around to get that rear assault damage. And you know I'm going with the reflection all the way out to give me that extra window to make sure my reflection's on point to break their stance, to start stringing along those combos. And like I said, you'll notice a pattern in my combinations and what I use against this boss, but feel free to get creative with your builds, to get creative with your skill tree, because there are other perks and are other add-ons that I haven't mentioned that could probably be even more effective in these legendary builds in NG++, the Frist Berserker Khazan. But let's go beat this boss tail again.
Khazan, why do you insist on fighting me? Don't you see? The real enemy is humanity. OZMA, look at how you've changed and what you've become. Khazan, we saved this world. Do we not then have the right to destroy it?
right, our next build, which is one of my top favorites, the Fallen Lord's legendary build for the Frist Berserker Khazan. This thing is beastie. You can tell by the spear, this build. This thing does damage and will take a boss out in seconds. Look at the tooth on that spear. Could you even imagine what it feels like when it's going against a boss and ripping them apart? But this Fallen Lord set is goated, one of my favorite top 1 or 2 choices I gotta tell you behind the Soul Eaters build. But let's get into it. We got the Fallen Lord sword, attack damage, proficiency scaling B, willpower scaling C. You can look at those attributes I rolled on there, but I like a lot of damage in my builds. We're going with the stun jar again. 10 on the proficiency, I'll take those. For the top, you see full moon. Stamina damage increase, charge attack damage multiplier increase. You can see the attributes on that I rolled. You see this on the gauntlets. You got damage increase, potent blow, and spiral thrust, which is one of my favorite moves to use. Damage increase there. And then you're gonna see on the Fallen Lord's leggings, full moon. And you wanna make sure full moon is activated because you get more damage when you're in the full moon using the Fallen Lord set. And then for the shoes, you see the potent blow damage increase and spiral thrust again, damage increase. Very key here. I like running LMA's ring. It's a lightning attack damage to it. Don't ask me why, but I love running that with this build. There's a lot more other effective rings. I just love this ring. And then for the necklace, I like the necklace of strikes, which gives me damage increase on that end as well. Now, you know, there's some perks of having the Fallen Lord, like the timing window for brink dodge is increased, and the effects of moonlight steps after image is also applied to this build. I'm using the spiral thrust again. You know, I'm going with shadow reversal. This almost doesn't even need to be said, but I'm only doing this for timestamp purpose. And then I'm going to be using trance to keep those combinations going and flowing back to back. And then you know I'm a reflection king. Like I said, this gives you a bigger window to hit those reflections perfectly so you can break that stance and start those combos and keep them going. The Fallen Lord set, one of my favorites. Let's see what type of work it does against the last boss in this game. And like I said, it's 3 phases, it's NG++. I don't know how much harder you can get. Well, there is Guido, but that's gonna be for another video. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into the one that has a league of its own, the golden set, which I use in 98% of the game from NG Plus to NG Plus Plus. This build is incredible. I highly recommend that you use this build when you're doing NG Plus and NG Plus Plus, trying to get through those next phases in the games, because this build is one of a kind. It's crazy. It was recommended by my guy Beezy, so shots out to him. But this build is incredible. We're gonna start with the Survivor Spear, attack damage, proficiency scale in B, willpower scale in C. You see my attributes on there, went for a lot more damage. The stun jar, let me get a 10 on that proficiency, but you can go with the helm of your choice. Then we got the pauldrons, which is real assault, damage increase, dodge stamina cost decrease. And then we got the golden gauntlets, which is swift attack, damage increase, and trance. Trance is key with this build. You want to make sure you are in trance so you get more of the damage increase. For the golden leggings, you got stamina damage increase from rear assault and dodge stamina increase. For the boots, you got trance damage increase again and swift attack stamina damage increase. You can pause it to see the attributes that are on these things. I'm running the Reese ring with this that gives me max stamina, and then I'm running the necklace of strikes, which is one of my favorite, and you see the rear assault damage increase 20%. So trance is very pivotal with this build, but you know when I'm running here, we're going to trance just to make sure it's leveled all the way out, all the way down, because trance, you're going to get extra damage points on them when the enemy is turned around and that you're using trance with it. Also, Moonlight Awakening. Moonlight becomes a piercing attack when used after trance. Now, you know I'm going with the same ropey dope. I need the spiral thrust. I need my shadow reversal. I need my trance all the way out like I just spoke about. And you know I need my reflections leveled all the way out. The bottom one is key because you get a slightly bigger window to time those reflections and to make sure they're perfect, to break the stance and to start those combos. The golden set, one of a kind, one of my favorites. Check it out as we go against this boss. 3 phases, NG++, the first Berserker. Let's get it.
Khazan, why do you insist on fighting me? Don't you see? The real enemy is humanity. OZMA, look at how you've changed and what you've become. We saved this world. Do we not then have the right to destroy it?